Hey everybody, in this video we're going to discuss conditional statements and wait statements. Now first off, what do I mean by a conditional statement? A conditional statement is a statement that only executes under certain conditions, meaning it will not always execute. It will only execute if a certain condition is true. To demonstrate this, I'm going to write a program that uses a variable. I'm going to call that variable x. I'm going to set it to a random number between 1 and 50. And then what I want the sprite to do is, if the random value selected is a number between 1 and 9, I want the cat to scream single digits. Otherwise, do nothing. Then at the end of the program, the cat will say the end, regardless of what happened, regardless of what random number was picked. So to do that, I'm going to go to the control section, and I'm going to use an if-then statement. If-then simply means if a certain condition is true, then execute these statements. Okay? So what's the condition I want to be true? The condition I'm looking for is if the variable x is between 1 and 9, or more simply, less than 10. So inside here, I'm going to put a Boolean expression. Let me go to the operators. Since I'm using less than, I'm going to use the less than operator. Then on the left side, I'm going to put the x variable. And on the right side, I'm going to put 10. So what I'm saying is, if x is less than 10, then do the code inside here. What's the code I want inside there? I want the cat to say single digits. And we'll have him say it for 2 seconds. So if x is less than 10, say single digits. Exclamation point. Okay. And then this code, and let's just go ahead and add one more. Okay. You'll see why I'm doing so later. So after it says single digits, we'll say end of if then. Okay. End of if then, to signal that we've reached the end of the if then block. It'll say that for 2 seconds as well. Then after the if then block, I'm going to put one more say command that simply says the end for 2 seconds. Okay. Now here's what this code should do. Notice there are 2 statements inside the if-then block. That means these 2 statements will only execute if the Boolean condition is true. If it's false, then we're going to skip over those 2 statements and go on to the next statement. This statement is not inside the if block, so it's not conditional. It's going to be executed 10 times out of 10, regardless, because it's not inside a conditional block. So let's execute. And then based on what gets printed or said by the sprite, we'll know if the variable was single digits or not. So we run, and as you can see, it went straight to the end. That means the variable we got, the random value was not less than 10. Let's run it again. Once again, the end. In fact, just to make it more interesting, I'm going to add one more say command outside the if block, because I want to know what the variable x is each time we run the program. So we could simply say x. Okay. So once again, this is not inside the if then block, so it's not conditional. It's always going to execute. It's just so we can know what value is getting stored in x every single time. Okay. So let's run. 15, the end. Notice it said 15, the end. It skipped these 2 statements. Why would it do that? Because 15 is not less than 10. Let's run it again. 45. Again, it skipped straight to printing out x. 38. Okay, let's run this until we get a single digit number. 29, the end. 27, the end. 17, the end. 50, the end. Single digits. End of if then. 7, the end. So as you can see, once you got a single digit number, or in other words, a value that's less than 10, we entered inside the if then block and executed the 2 instructions inside the if then block before going on to the next 2. Okay. So that's our example of a conditional statement. Now, suppose I want the sprite if the value is less than 10, I want the sprite to scream single digits. And if it's not less than 10, then I want the sprite to print out double digits or 2 digits. Okay. So in other words, I have one block. I have a set of instructions that will execute if the condition is true, and another set of instructions that will execute only if the condition is false. To execute that, let's get this out the way for a second. Cool. We're going to go back to control, and they're going to use if then else block. What the if then else block does is it says if the Boolean condition is true, then execute this block of statements. Else, execute these block of statements. All right, so let's move our Boolean condition over, and let's make this a little slightly bigger number. Let's say if x is less than 25, here, let's get rid of that. Simply say less than 25, okay? And if it's not, then we'll simply say, let's duplicate, else greater than 25, okay? Then simply say the end. Okay? So let's read through this. We start by setting x to a random value between 1 and 50. Then we say if x, that variable, is less than 25, then do this. Say less than 25 for 2 seconds. Else, say greater than 25 for 2 seconds. And just let's add one more command. Let's add a command that allows us to see what the value of the variable is. So we know what it is at all times. Say x. Let's just do 1 second so we're not waiting too long. So say less than 25, then say the value of x. Let's duplicate. All right. Okay. So again, we set x to a random number between 1 and 50. In fact, no need to duplicate. Let's get rid of that. Let's just move this guy right here. All right, so we say if x is less than 25, then say less than 25 for a second. Else, say greater than 25 for a second. So notice when you have an if then else block, only one of the blocks will get executed, never both, because the Boolean can either be true or false. If the Boolean condition is true, it'll execute the first block. If the condition is false, then this will be skipped. The first block will be skipped, and the second block will get executed. And in either case, the last 2 statements will get executed because they're not inside the if then else block. They're not conditional. So let's run it. Let's demo. Greater than 25, 37, the end. That's pretty fast. Let's slow it back down. 12. 2. All right, let's run. Greater than 25, 38. Makes sense. The end. Let's run it again. Less than 25. What's the number? 23. The end. Greater than 25, 32. The end. Let's do one more time. Greater than 25, 39. The end. So once again, notice that only one of these statements get executed, never both. That's how if then else blocks work. Only one set of blocks will get, only one set of instructions will be executed depending on the truth or falsity of the Boolean condition. Now, the next we're going to discuss wait commands, or wait instructions. So the first one is the wait until instruction. Wait until simply means do not move forward in the program until this Boolean condition is true. So to demonstrate that, what we're going to do is wait until x is less than 10. In fact, no, that's not a good idea. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use multiple scripts. Okay. For this first script, I'm going to use a forever loop. Okay. What this forever loop is doing is it's simply setting x to a random number. That's all we're going to do in this script. This script is simply repeating. All this script is going to do is repeatedly set x to a new random value. Then in another script, I'm going to create a second one. Okay. We're going to tell this script to wait until x is less than 10. So now that's all this script is waiting for, is waiting until the x is a number less than 10. Until that is true, it will not proceed into the next statement. So when that Boolean condition becomes true, we'll print, we got it, and we'll simply tell it to say x. Okay. So again, let's repeat. In one script, we have a forever loop. Remember, a forever loop loops forever until the end of the program. And then on the second script, we have a command that says wait until x is less than 10. Once it becomes less than 10, then move on to the next instruction. We'll print out say we got it, set x for 2 seconds. Then we're going to stop all the sprites because we don't want the forever to keep going. So we're going to say stop all scripts. So that'll stop the forever loop over here. And it'll stop all the scripts, not just this script, not just that script, but all the scripts. So let's run. Let's see how long it'll take to get a number less than 10. 40 came pretty quick that time. In fact, since computers are pretty fast, let's add a wait 1 second command. In fact, let me go ahead and demonstrate. So the other wait instruction is simply called wait, where you tell it how long to wait before moving on to the next instruction. So what we're going to do here, since computers are very, very fast, after picking a random value, we're going to wait for 1 second before looping back up to the top and then setting x to a new value. All right. So, and then I'm going to have a second variable that's keeping track of the time, how long it takes for us to get a number less than 10. In fact, to make it more interesting, let's say make it less than 5, just to make the program take longer. So I'm going to create a new variable called timer. Okay. Then in my third script, I'm going to need a new script. Like it's clicked. We're going to set the timer to 0. And then once again, we're using another forever loop. We're going to say change timer by 1. Then wait for a second. Oh, here we go. Okay, so in this forever loop, it's increasing timer by 1 each second so that it can be like our timer for the program. All right, so that's what the third script is doing. It's simply keeping track of time for us. So let's run. 3, 4, 5, 6. We got it. Took 6 seconds to get. Interesting. Okay, what we're going to do, rather than have a separate say x command, let's get this out of the way. We're simply going to tell it to say x for 2 seconds, and then that'll be it. Okay, then it'll stop. So simply say once we get an x value less than 5, we'll say it for 2 seconds, then stop all scripts. So let's run. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Took 13 seconds to finally get a number less than 5. Let's run it one more time to demo. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 seconds. Okay, there you go. So in general, the wait until command simply says wait until a Boolean condition is true. Once it becomes true, then move on to the next instruction. Whereas a regular wait instruction, like this over here, doesn't depend on a Boolean condition. It simply waits for as long as you tell it to before proceeding on to the next instruction. Thank you for watching.